I guess we're live. All right, about time. Let's start off the weekly positive message with something negative. Now I remember why I took a year off of doing this, because every time uh, I try to connect through StreamYard, my microphone and uh, and camera settings, which are on for DuckDuckGo and Safari web browser, StreamYard seems to, since I'm a voiceover user, uh, DuckDuckGo and Safari and StreamYard together, for some reason, always turn after when I set to go live, always turn my microphone and camera, turn my microphone and my headset, my earphone headset off. So then voiceovers on my iPhone. Well, Joe, why do you use StreamYard on your iPhone? Because I want to. Because I don't like sitting in front of a computer to record stuff. And since I'm doing a positive message, it's not work. And I restricted myself a long time ago that I do not use my phone for work. You know, I mean, phone calls and that kind of thing. But when I'm talking to friends, I don't talk to them on a computer. That's for work. And if I use my phone for work and recording and talking to and creating stuff for work, then I won't ever want to be on my phone. So, anyways, I set rules and limits for myself so uh, I don't cross my own boundaries, and I don't get bored with technology. I use it for its intended purpose, which is to be a spiritual, creative person, in which God designed us to be that way. So, if I put if I don't let myself, if I don't put limits and restrictions and boundaries on myself, then I have no direction. Wow, that turned something negative into a positive. See how easy that was? Okay, so I named this this video synchronicities and and purpose, right? So what I meant by that, which I'll get into, it might be a little long of a video because I didn't do the last 2 weeks weekly positive message because I kind of got stuck on what I'm about to talk about now, and it goes in depth and very deep. And I had researched some things to understand it better, so I'm not putting garbage out there to the world. So let me start off with a synchronous. I've always been intrigued by purpose. Like, what what is my purpose? Why did I get a second chance? You know, after my near-death experience, why did I return? Oh, of course I wasn't uh, in my mindset at the time of it or whatever. I didn't want to come back, but I was forced to. So I don't know how that works. I didn't ask. I wasn't able to ask questions, and even when I did ask questions, they weren't answered. So uh, when I hear people who have MDEs who ask questions and their answers were or their questions were answered, I'm like, that's not fair. What about my question? But I assume because my questions weren't about humanity and they weren't about, excuse me, they weren't about how I could help others, that they weren't answered. So um, through through failure and spiritual conquest, I've been able to understand that uh, it's not about you, Joe. It's not about you, dumbass. So it's about everyone as a collective, as how we help each other. So if you can't, my question that was answered was, what am I supposed to do now? You know, I'm blind now, and I thought my life was over. You know, and my spiritual uh, message back from wherever was, why don't you try to help others if you can, and be a good person? And I said, that's all? What, they said, that's not enough? That's not enough? Just to be a good person and try to help others when you can? That's not enough? You want more? So, and then through meditation and other things, I understood that's not my purpose. That should be all of our purpose, part of it. The foundation of a purpose is having something to stand on, right? So you're not floating around, bouncing off of crap that could hurt you. So, but that's where synchronicities come in. Things that you collide with that stick, you know, and you're maybe they hurt, but maybe they boost you into a new direction. So I'm thinking like a pinball machine, right? Like uh, sometimes, you know, you get hit, you know, you bounce off something. It may give you some points, you know, it may give you some information. It may give you a good score, you know, and then sometimes, you know, you may go down to shoot because you missed, you know, you weren't able to bounce off anything, but you didn't lose because you get a reset, but you still have the score. You still retain you still retain the score and the information. You get a new chance, and that doesn't mean you have an NDE. I think that was just that was a uh, what do you call a bonus, you know, a multiplier, you know, that kind of thing. Um, and it was temporary. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't a long-winded ordeal. It lasted about 17 minutes, you know, altogether. So, and then I got to come back and I became a different person, a better person, a more deep and searching for answers person, uh, a truth finder, and then a person who wants to share what I have learned with others so they don't have to go through the same crap I did. Because it wasn't easy and it sucked. A lot of it sucked, but uh, if I could go back and do it again, would I? Not if I have already experienced it, no. If I could go back and stop myself from experiencing it, would I? No, I wouldn't. Because I like myself better now than I did before. I'm proud of myself. I love myself now. I never did love myself. I thought that was egotistic or you know, you know, I like. I mean, I cared about other people before, but I didn't love myself. I didn't. I took myself for granted. I didn't think I was good enough or I was uh, worthy enough. You know, and I was the worst. I was my own worst enemy and that kind of thing. But my experience allowed me to understand a little bit differently. It kind of woke me up, you know, but in a good way. And not that I didn't have struggles along the way after understanding, where I still wanted to slip into that I'm not good enough, why me kind of, you know, mindset. And if it wasn't a message I needed to receive. And if it wasn't something that was created just for me in this story of my life that I may or may not have had written before I was born on this planet, then why would I fight it? And if I learned something from it, why wouldn't I share it? So it could help somebody else not have to go through the ping pong machine at all, you know? But sometimes we have to be burned by the fire even though someone says, hey, that's hot. You know, we have to we have to learn it ourselves. Not because we don't believe others, but because we want to experience it. We need the experience ourselves. That way we can be the kind of person who don't touch that fire, it's hot. I know, look at the scar, you know. So and I don't want to be the victim either. But wanting to have the experience doesn't make you a victim. It makes you whatever you call it, a pioneer, right? And I don't want to be special, and I don't want to be uh, idolized, and I don't want to be thought of as some great human being. I just want to be a brother and a friend, and be there for when people need me. That's it. Okay, enough about me. So, anyway, researching about uh, what makes people believe that they have a soul. Well, one, the religious books tell us that you have a soul. It's gonna go to hell if you're a bad person, right? Heard that in almost every religion out there. Or karma, right? It goes around, comes around. So if you do bad things, bad things happen. Okay. Well, there's also science, and in science there's a thing called an EEG machine where they stick all these things. I think I've talked about it before, but they stick these little plastic electrode things to your scalp with this glue crap, and it's there to measure your brain activity. And so you sit back, and then they can, they'll talk to you a little bit or whatever. They tell you just kind of relax and just let your mind kind of wander, blah blah. And then they can see your hemispheres and uh, where the most where the activity is at, yes, but where the activity is not. So there's supposed to be certain areas of your brain where the activity is constant. You know, right behind your eyes is one, like the frontal whatever. I'm not a scientist. I don't give a crap about the correct names. I just know the left hemisphere, right hemisphere, frontal, and then your pine pineal, yeah, pineal, whatever you want to say. Uh, that is semiconductive. It's higher during a certain time of the month, and especially when you're asleep or when you're meditating and that kind of thing, because that's supposedly where the spiritual link uh, comes from. So that's the seventh chakra or whatever in the Eastern religion, the Hindi and etc. So, long story short, the central nervous system itself, from the Berkeley Institute of Neurology, says that the central nervous system in the brain, including the heart and lungs, right, are the electrolysis system in the body. It's what makes our bodies work. Your heart stays beating, your brain keeps thinking, your lungs breathe whether you want them to or not. It's something they call it autopilot, right? You don't have to tell you don't have to tell your heart to, okay, beat now. you know, it's autopilot. So the brain functions that way. That's the constant signal when you're doing an electro cardio, right? Uh, whatever they call it, EEG. That's the content signal. So they're testing that, and then they can see where the spots are at that aren't active. So they might ask you something to remember something or etc. to get a certain part of the brain to see the activity, so they can see which parts, if there's spots that aren't active, that should be. That's another way for them to tell about your mental status and where you at, where you're at. So, and I'm not sure. I didn't ask this question, which I probably should. Does a person with a high IQ have more activity than a person with a lower IQ or an average? And that would be nice to know. So, well, I don't believe so. I don't believe that the brain has, for a person with high intellect. I don't believe that their brain had like an Einstein, for instance. I don't think his brain would have been more uh, active. I mean, his brain obviously was more active, but the electoral, activity. I think our brains are wired exactly the same in that capacity. Because if you have more activity, electrical activity, electrolysis activity, whatever I don't know the right word for it. If you have more uh, firing, activity in the brain than anybody else, maybe what happens if your brain gets too electro, then what, your brain gets fried. I mean, physically can be damaged with voltage, you know. And I should know, I was like electrician, so yeah, I've been zapped a few times. It doesn't feel good. But if your brain is soaking up all that electricity, then what about your heart and your lungs and the rest of your spine that needs that, So I think it's a balanced. But some people with higher IQs, I don't know this for a fact, but this is my hypothesis that everybody has the same amount of activity unless you have brain damage. So somebody, who has brain damage, maybe have a stroke or something, they have paralysis on part of their face or whatever, they might not have as much uh, communication, I will call it, for electrical communication, uh, is, you know, or let's say they do an EEG on that person, there would be a black spot, which means it's like a dead spot because their brain got fried somehow. Too much electricity, probably, and their brain, um, or there was a blockage or something like that. All right, so I'm getting way off of where I was going. So that's how I was able to prove to myself that the spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call it, lives in a body. It lives in you, um, or at least part of it does. I don't know. Some people think that the bigger part of it lives outside of you, like a player with a controller in his hand watching a TV screen. I'm like, oh, that's nice, right? That's nice. So who do we? I think that's just a way for us to blame a different source, a different entity or whatever for our mistakes, you know, instead of taking responsibility for ourselves. Like the ping pong ball, right? Well, it's not the ping pongs, not the ping pong, not the ping, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The pinball ball fault for for not, being accurate. It's the trigger's fault and the player pushing the buttons for the trigger. That's the person responsible for not having a good score. You know, no, not if the pinball can move on its own. And as far as I'm aware of, I can get up, walk around whenever I want to. I don't have somebody in my head telling me what to do. I have full control over my body for now until I get older and have to wear Depends or something. Then I'm like, yeah, give the middle finger to the person holding the controller. Why'd you make me shit my pants? So, all right. So, synchronicities of purpose, right? So, like the pinball and your soul and whatever else, right? You're bouncing off, getting a score. You learn something from somewhere that you can, maybe you didn't like where that was going, so you find something else to bounce off of, and eventually you find something that sticks that you like, and you're able to use the knowledge, the wisdom that you've learned off of bouncing off all these other things uh, to ingratiate, and to uh, I don't know, you allow yourself to use that wisdom knowledge to build something on something that you do like. Right. So when I try to explain synchronicity before, it's just way allowing your mind to say, "Hey, what about this? Check this out." And the metaphor I use this time is the pinball. Bouncing off something and getting a score, something you learn, and then eventually you get stuck in a pocket for a minute, or the trigger holds the ball for whatever reason, and you get in a better aim at a place you want to go look, to get a better score or whatever. So synchronicities, I think, happen that same way. And eventually, the purpose, you land it, and you get a bonus, and or you get, no, not an NDE, but I mean, you get a high score. Maybe you get a free ball, or you get whatever. I don't know. I'm done with this metaphor because I'm running out of material. But I hope I was able to explain uh, life purpose, because that's where the journey of finding life purpose is the whole purpose, if that makes any sense. So picking up picking up friends along the way is is the whole reason of having a friend, because you're going to lose friends, you're going to gain friends. Some friends aren't going to last, some friends will. Some friends will become family members of yours. You guys, uh, will know each other your whole life. Right? Some you only knew for a season. Maybe they were in your third grade class, whatever, and after third grade, you never talked to them again because they moved to a different country or a different state or a different town or wherever. You know, unless you unless you found them on Facebook, if you can remember their name, then you'll never talk to them again. So that's kind of how we are in life, where we're finding our purpose. So when you finally land your purpose, you finally understand what it is. It doesn't stop there, because you want to keep going, and you want to keep building on it. You want to, well, how can I expand this? And if you have a creative mind, you can't shut it off anyway. So it's all constantly going, what else can I do with this? How many more people can I help with this? What can I do to bring more people into it, and to share with them? Should I start a YouTube channel? Dun dun dun. Right? Okay, so um, if you haven't found your purpose yet, don't worry, you're close. And if you think you know your purpose, take another look. Maybe you're missing something. And maybe you're doing something you really enjoy, but there's something you know is missing. Take a look. And if you can't find it, that's good. That means you're still working on your purpose. Not that you haven't found your purpose, but that you're still wanting to evolve it. You're wanting to make more of it. And that's a good feeling. At least it is for me. All right, well, enough rambling for one day. I got, while I was doing my research, I got a couple more weekly positive message ideas, and so I decided to write them down in my iPhone notes. And so I'll have there won't be an excuse for a little while for me not to have a weekly positive message because I have material to talk about that should make your week good. Give you something to think about. Let's give them something to think about. Yeah, that would be my intro song. Yeah. All right, love you guys, man. Namaste. From mine to you. Have a great week. You deserve it. Keep looking. It's there, right around the corner. Everything you always wanted. I promise. If you search, you will find. Have a good week. Bye bye.